About 6 months ago, I was in the Sierra Nevada Golden Trout Wilderness. I wandered off of the trail I was on and hiked up a small ridge. I was at around 10,000 feet, and ancient foxtail pines surrounded me. They were all gnarled and sort of eerie to begin with, and I realized I was surrounded by a small grove of about 6 of them, all arranged in a circle. I think the fact that these trees were all most likely around 800 to 1400 years old has something to do with what happened next. I took the gum out of my mouth and stuck it to one of the trees. I was under the impression that one day someone would walk by, see it, and think, "Haha, that's funny. I guess someone else was here." Suddenly, I felt terror. Pure terror. A massive booming sound started filling the air around me. I couldn't understand what the hell was going on, but I swear I could feel vibration in my body from the sound. It was almost like the trees were angry at me. I was actually carrying a gun in the front pocket of my down vest, but I didn't feel safe. I fucking ran. I ran as fast as I could. And the quicker I ran, the quieter the sound got. But probably around halfway down the ridge, I could still hear it. It was faint, but still there. This noise didn't fade in. It abruptly erupted out of nowhere. I have never felt fear like that before. But the next time I head out there, I'm going back. I don't think I'll find those same trees, but I'll definitely find tons more of them. Be commercial driver. Be 7.5 hours into 8-hour shift. Feel a tap from behind me. Turn around. See figure in same suit as I, which is normal, we all wear the same suit. Talk over radio. "Hello." No answer. That's strange. Figure has the bluest eyes I have ever seen. Like crystals. Can't make out face, although it looks like a woman. Gestures at my umbilical, which is super close to being super fucking knotted around some steel. I wave and gesture thanks. They just go on their way into the abyss. Try to radio crew again about shit radio. Says, "We heard you the entire time." "You what, mate?" Ask who the other diver is down here. "Nobody down there, Anon. Everyone has been up here for nearly 30 minutes, just waiting on you." What the fuck? I go up and explain story. Older dudes swear I was a mermaid. Be youth. Spend a lot of time fishing and digging around by the lake near my house. It wasn't on our property, but it was about a 15-minute walk, and nobody else was ever around it. I used to think of it as my own private lake. Dad assumes it was owned by someone or some company who's holding on to it, hoping the value will increase over time. Tells me I can play there as long as I don't mess anything up or leave anything behind. He also tells me, "If you see anybody out there, you get your ass back home, alright?" These are the terms by which I abided in order to have my own private lake. Invite my friend Josh to the lake one day. We decided we would try to make a raft. Never got one working. Got soaked, laid in the sun, and ordered to dry off. Shoes and socks soaked, so we were barefoot. The sun is starting to get near setting by the time we're done playing. Went to go home, but we'd brought our fishing poles and hadn't fished yet. Plus, the fish always bite more at dusk, according to Josh. He was wrong because we didn't manage to catch anything, and it was pitch black by the time I convinced him that we should go. While we're packing up, a soft female voice comes out of the darkness. "Where you going? Come play in the lake." Friendliest voice I'd ever heard. So much so that I wasn't even afraid. "Hey guys, come down here and see me." The voice was so sweet and welcoming. We both started edging forward to see where it was coming from. "Fuck! Fuck!" Josh hollered, shocking me out of this daze I was in. He'd stepped on a fishing hook I must have left sitting there a long-ass time ago. The sudden clarity let me think enough to decide to grab Josh and drag him, hopping away. Never went there again. Josh remembers. Everyone else thinks it's a tall tale. Lost a good pair of shoes. Told my dad I'd lost them, so he didn't make me go back and get them. It was probably just some chick making a joke, and we flipped like autistic dorks. Sirens don't live in lakes. Okay, this is an old dream, but I'll try to recall it as well as I can. I had this one a couple summers back. Anyone know what it means? It started with me just walking out of my house, and a kid from my school at the time running at me, murderously. So I ran to the side of the house and climbed to the roof. On top of it, there stood this girl from that school who, in real life, was the sweetest person you could ever know, who started a fist fight. I could not hit her. Number one, I would never hit a woman. And number two, my arms were temporarily paralyzed for some reason. So being unable to defend myself, I was thrown off the roof and landed headfirst into the cement. Blood was coming out, but I was not dead, nor unconscious. The dream wouldn't let me wake up. Fast forward to me running from those two down my street. There were no cars and no other people. After going down a few blocks, I found myself in a portion of a theme park a few hours away. I was standing on a wooded bridge, hanging over the water. Suddenly, all of my friends from the school were closing in on me, zombie-like. I was cornered. Then, another girl came out of the crowd and ran at me. She pushed me over the wooden barrier and off the bridge. I landed back first onto a big rock in the middle of the water, and more blood came out. Somehow, I was still alive and floating, and was drifting back towards land. Once I hit land, I looked up to see my friends all crowding around me, like you see in all those horror movies, while I remained on the ground. They all reached out for me, and I woke up, with a bad headache and a bad back. Remember that I had this dream years ago during the summer night before freshman year of high school, so these were middle school friends. Thoughts, X? B last year. Get first apartment with girlfriend. Working late one night, security job. Getting ready to leave for the night, 11 p.m. Phone starts ringing in the parking lot. Check number. Didn't recognize it. Goes to voicemail. Start to drive home and listen to the voicemail. It's a bunch of static, and a robotic voice reading off numbers. Phone rings again, so I answer it. It's the security company to the apartment, saying my alarm has been tripped. I call girlfriend, and she said the alarm started going off out of nowhere. Get home next day. The landlord is there with the company checking the system. They find that a motion sensor or some shit was tripped on the patio door. Whatever, probably an animal. Later on, head to work, and again receive another phone call from the same number. I call it back, and it's just a message that says, "We'll be in touch," followed by a series of numbers. What the fuck? Get home and go to bed. 3 a.m., phone starts ringing. I answer it. The number is unlisted. It's a robotic voice that repeats the number to my alarm system, twice. And then, the alarm system goes off. Call the landlord. He comes out and I tell him about the number. He informs the company and the police. I try calling back the original number, and now it's saying the number is no longer in service. Nope. The following week, this same thing repeated over and over again. One day, my girlfriend was working. She's a cashier, and a random customer comes into her work that she's never seen before. She said he looked out of place and didn't buy anything, and walked up to the counter and started saying a bunch of random numbers, and walked out. Nope. Nothing happened after that, but I still think about it all the time. I got this strange happening as a child that fucking scared me. Be 12 or so, strolling around the town's forest. There's an old World War II bunker, nothing too special in this part of Germany. Entries are closed with bars that were installed later for safety. Thing is old and might collapse. One entrance had its bars ripped away. I think it was teenagers with a scooter or something like that. Time for exploring the creepy bunker dungeon, thinks my 12-year-old self. There is barely any light inside, and mold everywhere. I have seen mold stalagmites and stalactites. This place fucks me up. Worried because of the mold and the chance of the thing collapsing. Decide to leave. From behind, I hear sudden snarling. It's coming from a room I didn't check because the ceiling looked fucked. I also saw a body moving. It looked almost like a goblin in retrospect. I ran for my life. Nothing followed. Never been there again. As teens, my friends went there once and said they heard movement and ran as well. I have no clue what that was. It wasn't too big, maybe like a midget with pale skin. I think it was pale. Lighting was shit down there. Closest thing to describe it really is a goblin. I still wonder what it was and if it's still alive. It's been 10 years since. I worry about what would have happened if I checked that room. I've never posted this story or really told anyone, but here it goes. Be me, 18 years old. Just got my first car, 1989 Toyota Celica. Usually a night person, so only drive at night. Live in a relatively small town, 40,000 people. 3 a.m., driving on Main Street. Driving past middle school, high school in sight. Look over to high school and look at the sky above it. Weird, eerie light that I'd never seen before. All of a sudden, a green orb literally falls down from the sky, almost like it was shot out from space. Press on the gas and speed over there thinking it was a meteorite. Those are worth money. It looked like it fell in a really rural part of town, Cherry Valley. Drive over there, past ex-girlfriend's house, and notice her front porch light is off. Literally always on cause coyotes hate light or something. About that time, I notice every light is off in Cherry Valley. Think to myself, it's like an EMP went off. Right as I think that, my car turns off. Decide to get out and walk less than a quarter mile from where I saw the orb-looking thing fall. Walk over this hill, and to find the orb sitting in a field, spinning really fast, kicking out dirt like a helicopter would. Decide to throw a rock and it's instantly ricocheted right back at me. Missed it by that much, that JPEG. For whatever reason, I think to myself, I wonder if it's hot. Start walking towards it and feel an intense heat. All of a sudden, it lets out a really loud screech and launches back into space. Never to be seen again. Nope the fuck out there back to my car. Car turned on with no problem, and the lights were all back on, everywhere. I went back there the next day when it was light out. Literally no sign that anything had touched this field of dried up grass. Drive by it all the time and think about that moment. First Greentexts, so forgive me if it's bad. Be me, 16 years old in late 90s. Home alone one night, and my family is out at a restaurant. I was grounded for calling my little brother a friend after he kicked me in the dick. Little brother got off scot-free. I didn't and still don't do drugs. Pretty decent kid for the most part. I'm laying in my bed staring at this weird popcorn-looking shit on the ceiling at night, until I hear the trash cans rattle. We lived in a rural area, so raccoons and possums were common. I grab my pellet rifle and walk to the back door, and stop when I hear chattering. It sounded like chirping and clicking. I really don't know how else to describe it at all. I quietly open the door and walk out to where the trash cans were. I see little greenish gray-skinned things. They had pointy elf ears, and were no taller than a medium-sized dog. They had large, completely black eyes, and slits for mouths. They were really skinny, so skinny to the point that I could see their bones and rib cages. Sorry for the drawing, I'm really not that great at drawing. One's rummaging through the trash can, while 3 others are tearing up trash bags and messing with the garbage. I shoot one, and the pellet goes into its back. It didn't bleed, but it turned around, then made a loud shrieking noise. They all turn around and start shrieking. The little gremlins start throwing garbage at me, and I bolt back inside and lock the door. I stay in my room until my parents get home. While waiting, those things threw rocks at my window. They weren't strong enough to break it, but they did crack it. I've never seen them again, and I hope I never do. I know this wasn't really scary, but I just wanted to get this off my chest. I would love to punt one of those motherfuckers. Get a run up and nail it square in the pelvis. Really send the little son of a bitch flying.